Hi, this is Locking. Welcome to another episode of your single smart contact development series. Today, we're going to be looking at publisher. So, let's get into it. So, when building applications on Sui, it's often necessary to prove who published it. For example, if you're creating digital assets, you might need certain actions to be only allowed by the creator. So that's where publisher comes in. So it lets you prove publisher authority over a type defined in your module. So let's see. So the publisher is a simple object that's defined in the Sui framework. So it's defined in Sui framework. Come to our code here. You see that defined in our Sui framework over here. So Sui package. It is tied to a specific module and a package. So here it's tied to a specific module and a package. So it has three fields, which the ID, the package is tied to, and the module. So it acts as a proof that the module has authority over a certain type. So publisher is a proof of ownership of a module's type. So you prove ownership on only type, and you can only create it once per module. So one publisher per module using a one-time witness. In our last video, we talked about one-time witness. Now let's get straight into it. So let me back to my VS Code. Let me close this. So to use publisher, you have to import it. So you have to use Sui. Then it comes from the package. Comes to package. Then that's it. So we have to import it. We have to import the whole package itself, and we also have to import publisher. So now to use publisher, you have to have a one-time witness. So you have to have a module init function. So I talked about that in the last two videos. So module init. Then our module init has to take two arguments, which is going to be first of all our one-time witness. So let's come up here and define our one-time witness. So public stocks. So we remember in our last video we talked about our one-time witness having the same name with our module. So our module is publisher, and it must all be in caps lock, and it must have the top ability. Yeah, which is top ability. Then I have to pass it here, pass the publisher here. The publisher. Then I also have to pass in our transfer context, which is going to be unmute text context. Then after that, for our publisher, to get our publisher, we have to use let me just use a variable name. Let publisher is equal to, so I'm going to do package. Then for package, I'm going to get the claim the publisher. So after that, we have to pass in one-time witness and transfer context. So we've gotten our publisher. So this publisher now will now be transferred to the person that publishes smart contact. So which is going to be our CTL sender. So most times it is usually being sent to the publisher of the smart contact. So like I told you before, immediately our smart contact is being published, this function is being called, and this transfer context here contains details about the person calling transaction. So at this point, the person calling the init function is the person that published smart contact. So to send it, you have to do transfer, then public transfer. So we'll transfer the publisher here. We are going to transfer it to the publisher of the smart contacts. We're going to be ctx.sender. So this is how to claim the publisher. So after that, we can use the publisher in two ways. So now let me create a stock here. Let me just call it book. Let me just use an example from the move book. So let me create a stock and let me call it book. So let me just give it the, okay, let me just leave it with no fields here. Then after that, let me create another function and call it probably fun. Create book. So let me just come here and let me just give it an ID. So let me pass key. Then ID is going to be UID. Then can let me just give the book a name or a title, and give it title string. So let me call this create book. So right now we might want to give, let me call it admin create book. So admin create book. I want to give a capability and say that only the publisher of this module can create the book. So to do that, to get that, since we sent the publisher to the creator of the publisher of the smart contract, we can actually get that. So we can pass that to our function. So we can say let's cap. So I'm going to say that cap is going to be an immutable reference of publisher. So it's only the publisher, it's only someone that has one account or an address that has this publisher object that can call this function. So right now, select book. Let me also pass in my actual context here. This will be unmute text context. So I can select book, equal to book. Then ID is going to be objects new. So let's pass into actual context. So while creating book, let me just pass in a title. So from my function, so the title equal to, let's be string here. Then I'll just pass in the title also here. Then maybe I can just publicly share the book. So I'll say transfer or publish share, or let's just say share objects, and then I'm going to be sharing the book. But mind you, you have to check also the exercise of checks you can do for the publisher. So I think this publisher is not really it's not really type safe. So it means that maybe anybody that has a publisher object can actually pass it through this function, and it may not really be effective too. So we have to make a check to show that this publisher here, this publisher object is from the same module of our the same module where this function is. So to do that, we can do a first check. So we can do something like I talked about assets before. So I can say assets cap dot from module. So you can do these two checks. So first of all, you can check that okay, this publisher is coming. Let it be from the same module. So what module are we checking it from? It has to be from the book module. Or the book. Okay, yeah. So you have to pass in the book that is on the same module. So if this works, then we can pass. Another check we can do again. We can also check if it comes from the same package. So you can do assets and say cap dot from package. So we are checking if this our publisher, it's from the same package where this our book object is defined also. So first check we can check and see, first of all, we want to check that we're making sure that this publisher path is from the same module where our book object is being defined. And also we can make either of those two checks. There are times when I want to check from the module, there are sometimes to check it from the same package. So to make sure that you cannot just pass in any publisher, you have to pass in the right publisher. If not, I can just have a publisher from another function and still call this from another package of another module and still call this function. So to give it more will I say more capability or more strict, you have to always check that it is from the same package where maybe an object is defined. with the publisher. So I hope you get that. So for right now, I'm just going to be checking it's if it's from the same module. So once you should know, publisher is not as strict as capabilities, so it is less type shift. That's why you're actually checking. I can use these two kind of checks from module or from package. So one thing you should know about publisher is that number one, publisher proves authority. So it proves authority over module defined types. So it proves authority. Then it is claimed using a one-time witness. So I thought about one-time witness before. So this is one time. This is nowhere you need one-time witness. So it is claimed using one-time witness, and it is useful for admin actions and must include safety checks. So admin actions and it must include safety checks. So we did a safety check here, and it is great for small applications. So these are the key things to take for publishers. So let me try to deploy our smart contacts, and let's call this function to create a book. All right, now let me head over to the Sui runner. So on DevNet, yeah. So now let me publish this package. So we successfully published our smart contact. So if we come to created objects, you would see the publisher here. So the publisher was automatically created and claimed. So if you see the owner is going to be our account, same account I published it. So right now, let me come here and pass in our publisher and also create a book. So let me name the book the move book. So let's call it the move book. Let me execute it now. So we successfully created the book because we are actually people that publish the smart contract. So we're actually able to call the function to create the book. But let me give another scenario. Let me try to change address again. I'm trying to see if I can pass in another publisher. Let me see what I can do. I want to give a scenario where it's going to fail. So let me just change address. You're going to take note of this publisher here. Let me just copy it. So let me take note of this publisher here. And let me change address and replace my contacts. So let me change address to this one over here. And let's try to republish my contacts again and pass in the wrong publisher to show you what I'm talking about. So I think we switched our wallet address. Let me request a faucet also. Okay, let's wait for a moment to get the faucet. So yeah, we got to the faucets. Let me republish the smart contacts. So we successfully publish the smart contacts. Now let me copy this our old. Instead of using this publisher over here, let me copy this our old publisher here, and one thing I can do is let me switch my address again. So let me switch it back again. I'm trying to look for a way to fill this. So let me switch it again. And since this publisher belongs to another this wallet, let's try to call it from this wallet. So let's pass it here, and let me call it book. and pass it here. And let me call this book. So if I execute this now, if you look at it, this field see does not exist. Okay, sorry, I passed in the wrong argument. So let's try again. So if you look at it now, this field, because right now this publisher I gave it is not from the new smart contract. So because of this check that we made, it failed. Because if you notice, this publisher here came from the other smart contract which you published. So I published smart contract again with another wallet. I tried to use another wallet and passing the publisher. So because of this check, it actually failed. So now let me do that thing again. Now let me do this our check right now. Let's miss our check and let me republish this smart contract again. Now let me republish smart contract again. And I'll still try to pass in this old publisher. We've successfully deployed smart contract again. Now let me copy this here and let me try to pass in this publisher. I'll still call this, let's see, the book. Now, because there's no check, this is automatically going to pass. Because I told you before, our publisher is not really type safe. So you have to actually do your checks to make sure that not anyone that has the publisher can be able to. If I had the publisher from my last smart contract, I can able to call this function. So let me try again. If you look at it now, it worked. You see, I passed in another publisher from another smart contract into a new smart contract and it actually calls the function. So that's why anytime you're passing a publisher, you always have to give checks to show that you can't just pass in publisher like that. You have to check it. That's okay. You have to do some extra checks because see what happened right now. I moved the checks and I used the publisher from another smart contract. If you're confused what I did, go back and watch the video again. Go back and replay it for some minutes. You see what I did. So I republished it again and I took the publisher of my first smart contract and I passed it into the new smart contract and it actually worked because there was no type save. So one thing you should always do is that you should always do type check. So don't forget. So that's it for publisher. You can head over to the move book. And to get more details about the publisher. So I'll be able to cover it all. So that's it for this video. If you have any questions or you're confused about anything, feel free to drop your questions on the comment section or DM me. My social media handles are in the description below. Thank you very much. See you in the next video. Bye.